Well, today I'm going to have another go at a painting of a nice street scene with the church behind me, and I thought it was a pretty good picture scene, but I think this is a better one actually, and there's lots of interesting shapes. That wonderful old church in the background there, but what strikes me is the light from the windows. Can you see all this warm light, orange and yellows? We've got the timber frame and the nice shapes and the way the perspective takes our eye in here with all the cobbles here. Lots of detail and a tree there, so our eye is taken into the scene. But there's some nice colours there. I'd like to see if I can reproduce anyway, or give some interpretation on it. I'm not going to do it photographically accurate because that's not my style, but I certainly have to get it close to emphasize the historic nature of this old town. So I'm going to get on with that. You'll see that I've sketched it out fairly accurately actually. So I'm going to start with, I think I better get my sky in. So if I can arrange myself without knocking my camera, I think I'll get on with that. I'm going to start with, as I said, a nice bluey colour, a nice little bit of cerulean, I think. So I'm going to make a nice little puddle of cerulean. I'll just show you my palette. So I've got all these usual suspects, different blues, cobalt there, cerulean, ultramarine, greens, 2 or 3 greens, sap green, viridian, hooker's green, raw sienna. I've got some browns, my earthy colours, and my yellows and reds. Yellow ochre there, lemon yellow, and Naples yellow there. So let's get on anyway, and let's see what we can make of this. So I was quite pleased with my other scene, which was taken from a different direction, but why don't I have a go and have a little try it, see if I can improve it. So this is a wet on dry today. I'll not wet this paper, certainly not the sky anyway. But I think I'm going to do a series of washes, and before we get on to the detail, so I can just go work around these. Nice tree in the background there too, which I'll put on. This is something of a wintry scene. There's not a lot of foliage on the tree, so I think I can do that, but when it's a lot drier. So we'll just get that swept in there. Doesn't matter if it bleeds over a little bit on my building because they're going to be darker colour anyway. And in this street, this is a cobbled street, so I've got to get some greys, purples, a variety of colours to try and reflect that. So I'm doing with a broad wash, really, just a general sweep of using my mop brush, sometimes known as a squirrel brush, but there's no squirrels in this brush. no squirrel hair, I don't think. I think it might have been traditionally done that way. And there, my reference picture shows a lot of different cobbles in here, lovely, lovely stones. So I've got to try and hint at those. Obviously you can't paint them all in, so I think I'm going to just try and, when it's wet on wet here, let's just use a lot of different colours and see if we can suggest them a little bit. I can perhaps describe some in the foreground a little bit later when it's drier. We could put some line work in there. I've actually drawn a few here and there, the bigger ones where you could clearly see their cobbles, but out in the distance it's no way do you see the individual form of the cobbles, but you've just got to hint at them and the viewer will hopefully fill it in. He expects to see cobbles there. If you suggest a few at the outset. So I'm just using different colours from my palette now. All sorts of colours and reds and blues, and I think I need to get it a bit darker actually. So let's gather up a bit of darker tones. Because this building is whitish, although it's got a sort of bluey cast to it. So I will do that a bit later. But I want to keep the contrast between this darker bluish foreground. I think I'm going to put a bit of red in it actually, and a bit of purple. So if I look carefully at my photograph, my reference, it does emphasize that actually. You don't have to be a slave to the photograph. You just take from it what you want. Let's get some sort of ochre tones in it as well. Right, I think I'm going to leave it like this for the time being. Don't want to fiddle too much with it. Keep them, I can put some different washes, perhaps glaze it down the road a little bit. And so when it's drier I could put some cobbled shapes. I could define a few in the foreground. But in this area here, there's a street light here, and it's casting a lovely orangey yellow light. So I think I'm going to, while it's wet, can see what I can drop in. So I've got a bit of orange on my palette here. So I'm just going to put a bit in there to suggest it. And also we've got some yellowy, reddy colours coming down here as well, under these lights from the shop windows. So I think I'll Oh, I've got some reddish colour. I can see it here in this in the window there. So I think I'm just going to drop a little bit in there. And we've got in these windows here of this shop, oranges and yellows. So let's get a bit of my lemon yellow and see if I can suggest some street light, or some shop light I should say, coming through. I think we can. And something here a little bit redder and pinker perhaps. Let's get a little bit more red in some of these areas. Right. Now let's go for this big slab of white I've got here. I've got to take the tone down a little bit, so it's just too white at the moment. So this element here, we can drop some in there. Right, let's do that. And I've also got in these, between these timbers areas, so I think I can just wash this in actually. Got to take out the white, it's too white at the moment. But let's vary our colours. Put a hint of... I'm mixing these on the paper actually. I'm not over mixing them in my palette. I don't want to do that. I just want to let some of these colours run in together. And it's a little bit darker in this building here. But let's just see what the colours do. And then I have to obviously get the darks of my roof in. So I think I'm going to get some nice umber and the sienna. I want to get a nice rich colour there. So nice rich dark colour, because I want it to contrast with these. So let's see what I can get. Yes, that's pretty nice rich colour there. Again, I can put some more detail with a dry brush in a bit later. And I think I need to darken up some of them now. That's a little too dark. A bit of Payne's grey there. A little bit too dark. Let's put some... Oh, that's better. Put a bit of brown in it. a different roof structure there. Right, that's coming. And we've got actually I could make that a little darker, so I'm just going to dab in a few bits while it's wet. And it can bleed itself in a bit better. Adding a bit of reddish tone there actually. Lots of tile that comes off there. So let's leave that for a minute. And I've got a roof here as well, which comes off of here. So we've got to try and be fairly careful with our brown roof colour there. I'm using the point of this. I could use a smaller brush actually, but I want to keep it loose and lively. If you use a bigger brush, it sometimes helps you do that, from getting a bit too detailed too soon. And then I've got a lot of, I've got another roof there. This old building. These are little cafes now where you can have a lovely snack or full meal in some of them. So if you're in Hertfordshire, do stop by and check out some of these lovely buildings. And well, I've my camera battery died a little bit, so I've done an odd little bit while I took a bit of charge on, but now I've got to press on and try and get some of this these black timbers in. So they're very irregular, so it doesn't matter if they're not straight, because they certainly aren't straight in reality. They're all a jumble of old structure, old timber frames. So let's just push on with a few of them. They're all higgledy-piggledy. It's strange how they overlap as well. They all come up to each other and are very odd shapes, some of them. They come across like this. And under here is a very dark overhanging bit. So I've got to try and get that. So I'm going to vary the tones a little bit. And it was really quite black in here. So I'll emphasize that because I want to emphasize the light which is coming from inside of the shop. Old timbers, as I said, very overhanging bit there. coming out here, little structures. Right, let's press on, let's get some of the shop fronts there. Here we've got there's a big window there with some light coming out, so let's try and get some of the main form in there. It was all little leaded window as well, so I'll try and with this tip of this brush as suggested anyway. Big diagonal timbers in places. Coming down like that. So, let me see, I say there's quite a lot of timber work to do. So, just press on with that. And down here. Along that edge there. Right, and along this is quite dark actually. It's all in shades. Get a fairly thick mixture there. A little bit of dry brush to try and show how it's darker under these tables that are just standing there. So I've got a little bit of dry brush which picks a little bit of the texture. Not that there's a great deal in this paper. This is a 300 GSM. It's not got much texture, cold press, but there's not a great deal in it. So I have to create my own texture really with some brush strokes which we can add later. As I said, one has to decide how much detail you want to put in. You could go on and on with it, but you've got to do enough to satisfy the viewer. He wants to see some realism, but you've got to enjoy painting it as well. Now it's under this roof line, we need a bit of dark there. Window here, another dark area there. want to try and capture some light from these windows as well. So I'll put some yellow and red into them. Try and capture the light. Right. And this roofs have got, they're tiled, so I've got a little bit of dry brushwork there. Will help me show a little bit of tiling, hopefully. Let's get slightly bit more. Yes, it's a little bit of tooth in the paper. Not a great deal. There's a canopy along here, a nice canopy over the kitchen area or over the dining area. People sit on the street there. Yes, I think I need to draw the line of the building down a little bit. Under that canopy there. Windows, signage here. There's a bollard there. Well, I've got a nice dark colour. It's a good idea to swap around where you're working on. Some people work religiously left to right, top to bottom. There apparently are some good reasons to jump around, otherwise you miss certain things. You need to look at the totality of your picture to see whether you're making the right decisions. You can do that if you move around a little bit. That's the curb edge here. That helps our eye go in to the picture a little bit. And we've got lines coming round here as well, which help us keep our eye, or take our eye into the painting as well. Some of these flagstones, they help as well. The footing of that shop front there. And we've got, comes down here, the frontage. There we go. Now I've got to, where do I go from here? Have a look at my reference again. Yes, I could put, yes, I need to put some more structures here. This is a street out here. That's our street lamp. Let's get a nice dark on that. I noticed this dark area there, a little recessed area. I blacked it out a little bit in my sketch to remind me it's there. And also parts on the church here. So this we've got a dark bit here. It's an old bit of a cypress tree or a yew is projecting out there. So good to do that. But let's press on with a little bit of my line work for my church. But I think I mustn't have it too dark. So let's lighten up a little bit and just wash it in a little bit with some greys, some browns, the odd bit of colour there. Certainly the church has, this tower has colour in between those dark elements. So I think I'm just going to roughly sketch that in, hinted it. Soften up some of that black actually. Try to keep a few of the lights in, and something of this main tower as well. Yes, I think under here, slightly different colours, a little bit more bricky colour, add some texture here. Now let's have some little different colour here. This part of the church. There's a war memorial in there, which I want to keep with the whites anyway, to do a little column which is there, but I got just a little hint of light brown on my brush there. To try and suggest. I think I have to bring it down my wash a little bit here. Looking a bit too broken up. I can put a bit darker in some of these areas though. Let's get that a little bit bluey, I want. It's a nice blue colour actually coming along there. and little bits of blue down here. Different architectural features of these buttresses there. And also on these projecting bits. So you've got to make some interest, some sort of castellations on that, on this tower here. I've got to try and suggest that. And we've got a very nice tower here as well. Sort of bluish, slated colour. So we try and do that. And the memorial, I've got to try and preserve some of the whites of the stonework there. Get some black of my, need to put some more work in here to show these windows. So these are lovely little cafes actually. Got lots of different features in here. Doorways. And tables out here. As I said, the street goes up here. Let's try and do something of this shop front as well. It's suggested anyway. Glass coming in here. I think this is a Starbucks actually. I'm going to put the canopy in now. This little canopy here. It's a light green, I remember. We do that. And there's also some red as well. I can see a nice splash of red above one of these windows. Let's see if I can get a nice bit of crimson alizarin going, I think. Yes, there's good splash of red along there. And also in some of these windows as well. A little bit of red up here. And orange. Let's get some yellows going. Soften up some of those edges. Let's put a little bit of yellow with that. And this one, this other window, I'm going to get a cleaner yellow and just put that in there, yes. And I think we can put some nice yellow in here as well. And certainly this big window here. So we've got lots of action going on in here. Great deal of detail actually. Now I've got a Starbucks there. Let's try and hint at a little green. Yes, I think, where's my Starbucks sign? Here. Okay. Still got more black to do here on this frontage of this Starbucks. Got timber here, timber structure here. That's another bit of their signage there. Let's give them a hint of it there. No, that's a little bit too dark. Let's lift it a bit. That's it. And what am I going to do down there? I think got to put some little bit of colour under there. I think there's a bit of a brick structures in parts here. So this is a very loose interpretation, obviously just to capture the essence of my visit there. I think I'm just noticing that my line of the curb there has disappeared somewhat. So we need that, because that takes our eye into the painting and gives us a little bit more linear perspective. Now, how is it coming along? I think I could still do with a little more colour in places, but before I do that, let's see if we can get our street lamp in here. There's a building out there actually, windows, the background, and fences. I think I should wait a little bit of dry brush to try and tighten up on our church to make it read a little bit better. I need some, there are some dark elements in there, little shapes, they help it read a little bit better. Right, and bring out some more shape to these castellations, because there's one there, one here, I've got a line coming along like this, structures here which will help it read a little bit better. I think I can redefine it a bit actually with some white later, with some gouache, some flagpole there. And we've got a fence here actually. Let's just try and hint at it. A churchyard here. I love these old street lights. Bit of shadow under here, under there, down this crease of the wall. Adds some interest. That needs to be a bit thicker, I think, a bit bolder. And we've got different colours here. Just try and add some interest. Big splash of red here as well. Not quite sure what it is. But I'm putting it in. Some signage here, some signboard with a bit of fair perhaps. Now there is a bit of shadow being cast actually, so I think I'll get a slightly bigger brush. What do I got here? Yeah, number 10, Dalaroni, a little round one. Let's get a bit of crimson alizarin going with a bit of purple or a little ultramarine perhaps. I want to make a shadowy colour. You can make it various ways, but often ultramarine and crimson alizarin can do it. Make a nice purpley shadowy colour. So I think, where can I see it? Yes, I can see a piece coming across here and also there, and then coming across a little bit cast by the building here. And we've got some of these as well. Seems to be a little bit there. Right. I haven't got in the clock actually. I think I need to lift this as well. That's a little bit too dark. That's right, that's better. That little buttress area there. I need to put that tree as well. Yes, let's do that. I've got a little fan brush, and it's rather silhouetted by the sky, so I just want some fine marks, really. Then I'll put in with some stronger paint, some dark lines, but that could do, I think. Yes, why not? Leave that to dry off a little bit. Just wondering if I got enough texture in my roadway. It's looking a bit bright, isn't it? Let's get a stiffer mix, different colours on my fan. Let's see. Okay. Right. Just showing, trying to get some of the marks to suggest some cobbles. I think I'm going to put a bit of yellow in that. In my street lamp. Let's get a little bit of yellow. Just help the viewer suggest there's light. I think this is late afternoon, dusky, really. That's it. Why not? And we get some more light in here. Gonna have a warm, nice cappuccino. You gotta call in there where it's nice and warm. And here, I think I'll make this a doorway. So we can contrast it. So our signage, doorway in here. Right. Yes, I could suggest some of the marks from the tree there. Kind of suggested anyway. Oh, I noticed I could put a bit of texture actually with the driest mixture. Some of the of this plasterwork has got some nice texture in it, which is just catching a little bit of light. We could do that. Just catching a little bit there. And tighten up a bit on here. On this wall as well. Right, now I think I'm going to, let's get a bit of gouache and pick out some highlights. So let me see where it's best to put your gouache out fairly fresh, because it dries, it goes very dry and hard to reactivate if you do it leave it too long. So just put a little squirt down there on my palette. This is Winsor & Newton Designer's Gouache. So let's get a small brush with a nice point on and add a few bits of white to give us some odd highlights. Like that, there's a few tables here actually, catching a bit of light, and chairs. So let's kind of suggest a few tables. There, a bit of light here and there. Around these bollards they had little rings as well. Around the bottom there. Catching the light there. Let me think where else. Oh, I know where I can step up a little bit of white here, coming down the church, yes, a little bit to help with these. Help delineate my church a little better. Yes, I think on this buttress needs some work. I think that's better. And our warm oil as well. Let's try and introduce a column there and a nice square there, nice block of stone. I could put a bit of a shadow in it in a minute to help nice design. Let me think. Oh, I know. A little bit of line work on this canopy will show us what it is. There's tables and chairs under here. A little bit of work on these windows will help, I think. Now they were, let's see, we think, I might leave it at this now. As I said, it's just a very loose interpretation of this little church and small town here in Hertfordshire, in the UK. So if you're passing by, do call in. This is a fascinating place with a lot of history. Actually, I think I perhaps need a few darks in my foreground here to show these cobbles, this pavers here. Bit of shadow work there, trying to give it some form. But let's just get some more cobbles. Just try to get a few different shapes. Just using odd colours I have on my palette at the moment, just to drop in some variety. A little bit of dry brush as well. That's what we need to do, I think. Get a little slightly bigger as they come, as they're closer to us. Try to get some of the linear line of it as well. Soften up some of the lines. But we do see them coming alive, but I think that's probably enough to suggest it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Do give it a like if you'd like to see more. I think I can do quite a lot of fiddling around with it as well to improve it, but you've got to be careful. At what point do you say enough is enough? It's the age-old battle. Do too much and you take the spontaneity out of it, but it's got to be good enough and sharp enough for your viewer to see what you've done there. They've got to have a degree of realism, just like a good novel, I guess. If that's too fanciful, you can't buy into it. Although I think we're all different. Some people can suspend their imagination and just buy into anything. But it's a personal choice. Anyway, thanks for watching.